Yeah, hi guys. Sorry for the delay. I hope you can hear me. Yeah, so I just thought I could start the session about an hour late. Yeah, and yeah, for those who wanted to join the session on time, yeah, I'm sorry about that, but I hope you guys can come back. Yeah. So today, I just want to share, an interesting development that has been happening over a long time now, and I'm sure some of you were asking themselves, how is this topic relevant to designers. And yeah, so I wanted to talk about there's a phrase in South Africa we say Thokoza Gogo, that really talks about the spiritual healing, isangoma. Yeah, so just give me a moment and I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, I'll be with you guys shortly. Yeah, I'm not expecting anyone to join. So yeah, I'm just gonna, freestyle, probably, take like the next 20 minutes or so. Yeah, so let me just share my screen quickly. So double check if my screen is being shared. Okay, cool, awesome. And let me just go back. Cool. Sure, guys. Yeah. So things ancestors to talk about, and so this is really about like how do we instill values in our digital experiences? How do we instill African values? Why is this important? Being focusing, you improving experiences, so that based the web, uh, for us, our own, right? To lead the experience, to, you know, physical and right and services, right? Not just based on the, but to also to for us to look within. It's our approach in terms of what the digital experience definitely done, and it and I think we have a lot of opportunities when it comes to looking at us as Africans. What are our values? What matters to us, right? And spiritual healing, is one of the things that matter to us as Africans. From a wellness perspective, right? Yeah. So I'm not gonna go deep into this conversation, but that's like really the context, right?
is there is this spiritual thing in you. That's why I'm saying you are inclined spiritually, and you need that to work over you, right? And this speaks of a prayer, and a prayer doesn't really mean you belong to these institutions, but as to calm you down a certain level, right? Connection you have.
I'm quite terrified of water. I've not been in the sea.
Yeah.
Because why would you want to be in the body of water that has no wall,
Yeah.
bottom? I have a very strong connection to water. I love it. It calms me down. It brings me back to self.
The water connection. You guys have you are linked and connected to one ancestor, right? And the maternal one, right? How often do you dream of water, the sea?
When I'm particularly stressed or concerned, I think my dreams are a little bit more vivid around that and around like air, like flying.
Yeah, that's why most of the time you want to be alone, right? So they say connect more, right, with the water. Spend.
Okay, guys. Yeah. So this, and some of you might have seen it, and yeah, I mean, if you have noticed, a lot of things have changed, and when you see a sangoma, you might expect, someone maybe who's got dreads, someone who's like wearing, certain type of clothes, walking barefoot, etc. Right? But yeah, so I mean, there are people who have taken a modern approach, people who are practicing, who are practicing sangoma, and they don't necessarily look, you know, like the traditional sangomas, and the number of these changes, right? And you've seen a lot of sangomas, going online, providing their services online, um, not in the traditional spaces that we are used to, right? A lot of them, they've evolved with technology, and you know they look like, like everyone else, and there are still those who still, are sticking to the traditional way of doing things, right? um but nonetheless, they still like give like great service, and I'm not about like there's a lot of negativity, but I'm not gonna dive into that. That's not like the purpose of this knowledge sharing session, right? So this is a term called, this is a term that is commonly used on social media, by people who want to consult with traditional healers. A lot of you might have seen it, like on Twitter, and a lot of it now, are using the phrase. It sounds cool, Thokoza Gogo, right? Greeting ancestors, and we've seen a lot of people, becoming sangomas, and it seems like this thing has become fashionable, etc. You know, and a lot of people like are getting curious, and the opportunity to get a consultation now is a bit easier. People used to often go to certain places, or they would know who to go to, in their villages, because now a lot has changed. People are in the cities, while like all over the place. We've lost that connection, and we still need the service, however, but the way to get it right has evolved, and hence there's been this like huge change, and people are embracing the change, and some they're questioning it, etc. Right? So yeah, I mean, we've seen people using WhatsApp as a means of communication, and some they you can even now send a direct message via Instagram or Twitter, and you can even email them, do a FaceTime, do a phone call, etc. Right? As technology evolves, and so do our ways of doing things, right? Even though we still like want to keep our African values, right? It's a matter of like, how do we still get, the services that we want and use, the modern approach. Yeah. And, again, some of these options might be easier, for certain generation, and some generation or specific individuals, might even prefer the traditional approach because they feel like, if I am going to a hut somewhere in some village and like get to experience, like I'll get the true experience, and they trust that whatever message or guidance they receive will be from an authentic person, right? So yeah, and the question is, how can we provide authenticity, in this like digital age, and how can we enhance trust, right? The people who get, because they're fake, use stop values, and also ourselves, promoting our culture, promoting our solutions, right? So we can't really like distance ourselves, even if we don't buy into this whole thing, right? I mean, this is like an interesting topic. I've been learning a bit about it, myself. I haven't consulted, with anyone, but I'll be curious to do so at some point, I think. But I have as much interest as I would have in any like Western solution. Some of us work in financial services, industry, and we apply ourselves fully, when it comes to, you know, addressing like core issues that will, cause huge impact when it comes to customer experience. And I think we can also apply the same level of enthusiasm and energy, when it comes to improving digital experiences, with an intention of promoting, our African solutions, right? I mean, we can apply the same, design principles, right? In this case, we know that people who get robbed, the people that want to make sure that they're consulting with the right people, and how can I verify this person, right? Besides relying on the word of mouth, right? We've seen like fake Twitter accounts being created online, people paying money to like fake Twitter handles, only to find out later that they're actually robbed. We've seen people saying, hey, I went to a fake sangoma, and we've seen people complaining that, hey, they're not getting clear direction, from these sangomas, right? So how can we authentically create better processes or better experiences that will create a safer environment, so that the services, they become accessible, pretty much to anyone, and if you are in South Africa as a sangoma, you can pretty much like provide your services internationally, and just like we can consume technology that comes from other countries, and I see no reason why we can't extend our services, right? If we can digitize them in a manner that is meaningful to the customers. So anyways, I mean, I'm expecting like more like evolution to happen in the space, and I think there's a lot more contribution that we can make as designers. Yeah, so I actually wanted to, I stumbled upon this website, and I was quite impressed, just to see the level of like, digitization that is happening, within the space. And I wanted to see, what else is happening. And, the digital experience is getting better and better, and people can even like go online, they can book sessions, and they can, after that they can pay online, they can consult, etc. Traditionally you would bring like physical cash, and then they will say, hey, don't give the money directly to the sangoma, and there's some other details, right? I guess it's also an opportunity just to question, what are some of the things that we're doing, or what are some of the practices actually we had that are not relevant, and what are the key practices that matter to us, right? And it's necessary for someone to throw bones. I don't know, it's necessary for someone to well, I guess maybe depending on the I'm not knowledgeable in the space, but I've seen that there are people with different gifts, and some they use like different medium, etc., right? But it's necessary for me to be in front of you when you're throwing the bones, if that's how you do things. Can you do the reading remotely? I mean, we've seen some people where they're calling in to like Metro FM and to other radio stations, and they get reading. So that means, hey, I don't need to be in front of you, right? And even though I'm not in that space physically, you can still receive like a good service, right? So let me see if we're still good here, and I want to stop sharing for a moment. And there's a specific website that I stumbled upon that I'd love to share. So let me actually see. What should I say? Can I? Where's Chrome? Maybe I should just share the entire screen. Okay, and just wanna see if I'm sharing the right tab. Okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, so this there's this like website called Thokoza Gogo that I stumbled upon. I thought it was quite cool, and they had like they have an online store where you can buy some products, and you can find a gogo online, or you can find a healer, or you can find a school. If you want to become a sangoma, and then they share their story, etc. Right, and I like their first attempt, in terms of like translating this traditional African, like traditional healer like experience online, right? And then they're trying, other ideas besides like the core needs, to find a sangoma, right? And I saw they also like they created a brand out of this called Thokoza Gogo, and yeah, it was quite cool. And I mean, the way they're selling the story, right? It's quite visual, it is quite rich, and yeah, it's also a reflection of the spaces that we live in, for the majority of us as Africans. And they've modernized, some of the items that they sell, and just to keep things, relevant. And there's a lot of like content, educational content, about what it means to be a gogo, etc. And they talk about the different clothing as well, and they talk about you know um, the spiritual journey, and they go into they go into detail to talk about this stuff. And yeah, there's a lot of like interesting things, like I love their visuals. And yeah, so obviously, there are a lot of like cultures, in South Africa. There's like, Xhosa, Zulu, Tswana, Beatties, etc., right? And obviously, when you take the different tribes, of, like, people, yeah, of them, so, you know, that website, impressed by it. And just to see the level of thinking that they've applied, and the creativity. Yes, things can be better. There's a lot, but I'm not. I don't like. This is not a design critic, session. So I don't wanna dive into like design mode. Okay, I'm just like freely exploring and sharing, guys, the stuff that they have, right, and just to showcase like their level of thinking, right. It's great that you can learn about traditional healers and understand the different opportunities within the space. And also it's great to see how they are like monetizing this. And you know as much as we have who have the gift, they also need to eat. They need to find creative ways, right? And that's why they're selling products. And I see this one is a life coach, facilitator, and African spirituality teacher, right? And I think it's also a great opportunity when you think about it, even like for big corporate companies, to really rethink about what wellness means. Because it's not just about eating right, moving your body so that you don't gain fat, etc., or getting some rewards points, or consulting with a therapist, etc., right? I think there are things that the Western approach cannot solve for, from an African perspective. And I think also like from a wellness perspective, it's an opportunity like for us to say, hey, we can solve our problems differently. And it might not help you to keep on getting consultations, from a psychologist. Maybe there's a radar that can help you, just to clear your story, so that you can understand your current situation better. And maybe you can evaluate, your options and see and get some guidance, in terms of what you can do. So ancestors are not with you, and you are struggling with things that cannot be solved by the Western, solutions. I think it's time for us to reevaluate our options, and also to give as much respect, that we give to the Western solutions, to our culture. Because we've been alive, and we've been through a lot, as Africans. And I think it is like time to give a stage, to our African solutions, and to also to really rethink about what it means to be an African, what are our values and what matters to us, etc. And how can we bring the African way of living in this chaos, right? Yes, we've been influenced heavily by other cultures. Yeah. So why would this matter? I need to highlight that again if you're a designer. So as we all know, we need to like better understand, a customer, when you want to provide like a richer and, and when you want to provide an ideal solution for them, whether it's digital or physical, doesn't matter, right? If we don't, keep ourselves in check, and if we lose, the like our advantage, right? Because we're not the same. That means we will end up using solutions fitted, for us, or maybe for certain scenarios that we face in life. And you might be in a position where you need to design digital experience, for gogos out there, right? And whether you are into like, I don't know, if you're a t-shirt designer, maybe you can design t-shirts and have logos, etc., some cool stuff, or maybe you can sell them online, or maybe you can sell, like African solutions, right? We still need to go through the same process, right? But it gets difficult when you don't have as much context, because the context that we have about the financial service industry, or any other industry, right, is because we've accumulated that knowledge over time. We've documented that knowledge over time. We've gotten to empathize, with our customers over time. Empathy is not something that just like happens, once. But it's an opportunity where you get to reflect and find better ways of understanding a customer, right? And I think as we do that, we will evolve, our digital experiences, for the digital gogos that are out there, right? And I think besides just like looking at traditional healers, I think, when you look at other aspects, you know, there will be opportunities, because if we can be convinced that we can provide such an experience for traditional healers, or for those who seek their services, right? That means, that will give hope, to the other areas, right? But yeah, I mean, like, having said that, like, even I, I've loved to just to go deeper into the space, just to understand it better. I've been watching some shows online. It's been interesting. You can you can take a negative take, or you can be positive about it. And look, and anything in life, there's nothing is like purely white or black. But I think there's an opportunity for us to reevaluate, our understanding about what it means to be an African. There's an opportunity for us to better the experience, but we can't better the experience if we don't have a deeper understanding. And this is also a journey that I'm going through. I'm allowing myself, to deepen my knowledge, and it will take time. And because I can't come here and look at Thokoza Gogo website and be like, hey, this and that needs to be improved. This and that maybe can be like re-envisioned, right? Or hey, although we can, borrow design principles and best practices that already exist, in the e-commerce space, right? But not knowing, what if I'm selling a product, and I don't know. Let me see if I can make just a stupid example with something. I don't know if this is gonna work, but let's see. The store is okay. Let me, because I thought I saw some stuff that they sell online here. Nice festival. Okay, wow. Okay. Let's see. Oh, apple flavored gin. Okay, that's interesting. Actually, I think I saw some product somewhere, but anyways, let me not take too much time. Let me see. Imperials, maybe the stuff is there. Oh yeah, mafuta wempilo. Okay, this is interesting. So yeah, guys, like I'm just seeing these products here, right? And I think for someone who doesn't have much context, I might not, fully relate to what I'm seeing. But again, I think it's time for us to take the interest, to deepen our understanding. And if you look at these products, they don't look like any that you've seen in the past like 100 years, and even the packaging has improved. And as we all know, if you're buying a herb, it will wrapped up in whatever package, maybe newspaper or maybe wrapped up in some other leaves, and then you pay and you go. But there are a lot of opportunities, right? And look, I think these guys they can do better, but I'm quite impressed just to see their product experience, how they're selling it, and also a bit of description, just to see, okay, there's a lemongrass, nutty, and vuca herbs. And what is this? To open up your pores and to open up your attitude towards your day. Yeah. So you might have mixed feelings about this stuff. Just like, we can question, like any product that is out there, right? I mean, look, the reasons why certain products were used in our cultures, and one might question, the authenticity of the solutions, because when you modernize the solutions, you might lose like certain impact, and there might be like strong ingredients that traditionally worked in the past, but now we're modernizing things. You might not get the experience, but look, I think it's a great step, and we can always like question. So I think a big question for me would be, do we need to present our solutions, in the way that we have done so in an e-commerce space? Do we have to mimic that? I think for me, having lessons learned, understanding what works best, we don't have to fight the system. We don't have to, fight what works, but where we can work with what works. But I think there's an opportunity, to also to bring our true selves, digitally, to present ourselves digitally. We don't have to dilute the experience, so that we have a website or an app that looks like other apps. Yes, we can still stick to the best practices, so that customers are able to understand what you're offering, and they understand how to buy your products, etc. But I think an Africanized digital experience would be great, so that we can borrow the we can borrow from our African approach, right? Whether we analyze, in detail, the traditional setup of a hut where a traditional healer, operates, and then try to mimic that, so that we can provide that feel, digitally, right? Maybe we can package some of the products, right, in a traditional sense, but we can still wrap the stuff, in a box or in whatever, package that makes sense, without having to lose so much, right? Because the downside of trying to provide a familiar experience is that you dilute it, and you lose the soul in the experience. You lose the uniqueness in the experience. And I think it is important, to flash a bit, from an African perspective. Maybe I come here and then I can just like hear, like African sounds, and maybe I hear, when I come here, I get an experience of what it's like, to meet a traditional healer, online, and maybe I get an experience of how it's like to go through, a traditional school, right? And try to mimic, those physical experience in a digital sense that doesn't hide some of that doesn't hide some of the impactful experiences that you would experience in real life, right? Yes, you can hear sound, you can't have the smell, but we can tap into other senses, right? So that we can create and mimic, like an experience that is closer to what we would experience digitally. I mean, sort of, what we would experience, physically. And I mean, to be great to also just to see, what, sort of to see how we traditionally did things. The nice thing about, having a digital experience, we don't have to physically create hats. We don't have to physically create, some of the stuff that the traditional healers use, right? We can digitize that experience in a cheap way. You can customize it. Maybe Thokoza, you can go through the site and get that, Thokoza feel. If you are looking for a traditional, healer that has got that background, that matches yours, and language, right? I can see here, amafuta wempilo, the fat of the, what is it, healthy fat, okay? Tati glows glow, right? I see to some extent, they try to accommodate, wider audience, right? I think that there's an opportunity, even when it comes to personalization, where you can provide a richer experience. Yes, you can keep the experience generic, but there's still an opportunity, to to enhance it by personalizing it. Okay. Anyways, yeah. Let me pause a bit, and I just thought, I could share this, and I think there's a lot that we can talk about from a design perspective, and I think more than just like sharing generic, design angles that we can take, an opportunity to deeper understand the space, and then see. So the question for me would be, how best can we understand, an approach, that works, today, in a physical manner, and then translate that, into a digital experience, without losing that, genuine experience. Okay. So anyways, guys, yeah, I thought let me just, jump in, and then, I'll be sharing some like, like random, like topics. And yeah, look, design is broad. there's more than just talking about screens. And I think there's an opportunity for us to embrace and to appreciate our African values and African solutions while we having these like design topics. And I think this is just one of them. Thanks.